drafted, you thought he should have gone in the 20s. The ceiling is still tremendous, and everything he does. It's just a question of, what kind of coaching does he get? It's a question of, does he have the mentality to play? You have to have no memory playing that position. You have to have a lot of confidence, a lot of swagger. You can't go into a shell once you get beat, and that's all remains to be seen. You don't know that kind of stuff until you see people go through it. I just thought it was a very strange move, and especially as we go back to Josh Gordon and Ray Farmer knew, and there was a chance for Sammy Watkins. So it's just a strange pick to me. And early on, it's certainly not trending in an upward direction.
Yeah, and like you tying those things together, that's what the fan base is going to do. And in all fairness, that's what Jimmy Haslam's going to do when they evaluate. I mean, he's not only going to be tied to that being his first signature pick, but the double move of not going with Watkins, making the trade, picking up the other first, and then cast your lot with your cornerback there. And I was with you. Denard was really the guy that I liked. I mean, I didn't have a problem with Justin Gilbert either, but I was with you kind of, later in the first round. I mean, again, I like the upside is there, as you said, and I like seeing some of the adjustment, but boom, the levels of adjustment you need to make shouldn't be that high when you're taken that high in the draft. So it's a work in progress for sure. The whole offense is definitely a work in progress here that has just got more work cut out for him with the news today about Josh Gordon. What do you expect to see? When I brought you on to kind of circle back around to the end of this thing, I made my point about the Browns being like the number 2 restaurant going after McDonald's. You've got to take some shots in your advertising. You've got to be a bit more aggressive in the way you go after what you're going after, because you're not number 1. You're not a finished product. And in sports, translating that to football, I think teams like the Browns have to take the injury risk. That's just what bad teams have to do, or improving teams, or whatever term you want to use. That's what you have to do. You have to risk things that the Patriots don't have to risk, that the Broncos don't have to risk, and that is putting your guys out there in every preseason game you can possibly get to be ready for the beginning of the season.
Yeah, certainly. And certainly offensively, I mean, there's no question about it. I mean, it's great when you have Tom Brady and Peyton Manning, Drew Brees,
right,
Aaron Rodgers. You can just sit on the sidelines and laugh and joke and have fun. But when you've scored one offensive touchdown in the entire preseason, obviously you need the quarterbacks to get work. And obviously now with the wide receiver situation, I think it's certainly imperative if Nate Burleson to show what he can do, certainly at some point. And even guys like, who your Nuggets and Miles off, they have to get repetitions with Brian Hoyer, and even to a certain degree with Johnny Manziel. And you're right, you can't worry about necessarily the injury bug because it's, right now, it's been, what else can go wrong as far as the offense goes? And you kind of feel for Kyle Shanahan a little bit because it's just, you wonder how this team's going to be ready for week 1. And the answer to that is I have no idea. And I'm sure Kyle Shanahan feels the same way.
And I mean, really, this ties into the quarterback derby and all of that, because look at the splits that you've had. And I know the first part of training camp is where everybody plays. I get that. Like, you mix your 1s and your 2s and you test everybody out and all of that. But you not only have been split with the quarterback competition, which the way it played out was kind of predetermined from the get-go. I mean, by the time you got to the thing is what I mean. So you split rep quarterback from pages. Then, on top of that, you've got Josh, not sure if he's going to be here, not different wide receiver groupings. So you've had during this training camp, which, like you said, now makes you circle back. How do you be ready offensively for week 1? I mean, that other teams have kind of been in a unified direction for the entire 6 or 8 weeks or however long that they've been building toward week 1, whereas the Browns have been not shattered, but split into a couple of different, serving different masters, and now you're not prepared for week 1.
Well, I'll ask you this because you're there, but I go back to Lane Johnson. I was interested before the training camp started to see how the Eagles would handle that situation because obviously he's an unquestioned starter, but he's not going to be there for the first 4 weeks, and I wanted to see, how they split the reps as far as getting Alan Barber ready. And they didn't split the reps. Alan Barber took every single first-team rep, because he was going to be the guy there for the first month of the season, and Lane Johnson was with the twos, and he's just going to have to work his way back once the month was up. So, the fact that again it's a little bit different because it wasn't as concrete, but again, I think that only applies to people in the general public. The Cleveland Browns knew they were going to be without Josh Gordon for a significant period of time, whether that was 8 games or a year. They kind of understood that behind the scenes. So the fact that they were taking reps away from other people, and I don't know how many, you would have to tell me that, strikes me as a mistake, to be perfectly honest.
I mean, trust me, I talked during the first couple of weeks there that, if, second half of the season or whatever, then you include him. He needs to know the offense and the terminology and things like that. But I did not understand all preseason him being out there and mixing in and taking reps just because you knew for a fact that he wasn't going to be there at the beginning of the season. I mean, and hey, maybe this is possible because, like you said, we may never know some of these inside stories. Maybe Drew Rosenhaus did such a good. Maybe he flambéed the Indians front office and just convinced them that this thing was going to be appealed and that they were going to get off. And maybe the Browns allowed themselves to believe. Maybe you don't want to believe that they're going to come and take your house. You want to believe that you're going to save it at the end of the day. Maybe that's what happened. Maybe the Browns allowed themselves to be convinced that for one reason or another that this was going to be overturned, this appeal, whatever. I don't know. But, and you could clearly see that somebody made this discussion that we're having inside the Browns building last week because he was playing with the ones. He was playing in the first 2 weeks of the preseason. He was nowhere to be seen in week 3. And finally, Coach Pettin was like, well, this didn't make sense for us to have him out there when we've got to get guys ready for week 1, the guys that are going to be here. Well, it didn't make sense to have him out there in the first 2 games either. So I don't know if maybe finally Mike Pettin stood up and said, why exactly do you guys have me out here playing this guy when I need to get Miles Austin ready? I need to find out if Nate Burleson can get out there and play. And so I don't know. You could see a shift in training camp with that logic. I think they went into camp maybe hopefully convincing themselves that this was going to have a positive end.
Yeah, and that's a question I think needs to be asked now, and I hope some of the local reporters ask that question because I really do think
answer it for me. I'd gladly ask it, but they won't answer it for me. But anyways,
because I would like, I know Ray Farmer a little bit. I give him too much credit. I think he understood. So to me, is it a mistake from a first-year coach, or is it a mistake, or somebody pressing him from above? Either way, you want to kind of figure that out because it didn't make a lot of sense. It's all spilt milk now, but when you're having such struggles, and here you are with, week 4 of the preseason looming, and then week 1 of the regular season, and again, you've struggled so much offensively, and a lot of that goes to the quarterback position. It's not like that's the reason, because the Browns didn't split reps correctly amongst the remaining receivers. I don't think that's been the issue, but still, it doesn't make a lot of sense.
McMullen, my man from the Sports Network. Hey, next week, before we go, I figure I'll just figure this out with you now. With the holiday being Monday, if Wednesday works next week for you, we can circle back around right here on Wednesday, because next week, let's put down some predictions, not just for the Browns, but everybody's rosters will be set. Let's put some predictions around for the league here this season and get ready to start some football that counts, baby.
Yeah, Wednesday should work. It's always fun, and I'm glad we got to break the story together.
Hey, that was great. That timing was just absolutely perfect, and it went almost the same way. I was on with my man Jonathan Knight a couple weeks back, and he goes, "Jerry, we got to interrupt this conversation because it's coming through now." And then boom, LeBron, and you did the same thing. Hey. Through, and we had it, man. We scooped Schefter here, man. Way to go, John McMullen. That's saying something, my man. Hey, glad to have you here. Next week we'll do some predictions. We'll see what your outlook is for the NFL. Who's gonna hoist the trophy at the end of the season? And I can't wait.
All right, thanks for having me, Jerry. Appreciate it.
Thanks for being here. My man, John McMullen. You guys, John's with the Sports Network. Check him out there. Matter of fact, I meant to mention it, and I just dropped. He's off on the phones. I noticed yesterday, John mentions our conversations in some of the articles he writes. I saw. It was crazy. It was like on the Miami Herald, their newspaper, and I saw myself quoted in an article about Johnny Manziel, and I said, "Hey, when was I quoted about this?" And it was from our show, and that's great. I meant to mention that to John just now, but so he refers to our conversations in his columns that appear in various newspapers and outlets across the country, which is pretty cool. Glad to have him with us. We'll have him back with us next week, and it was great to break that. If you guys want more stuff like that, John McMullen has the pulse. He always knows what's going down. Tweet with him at JF McMullen on Twitter. Check him out at the Sports Network as well. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll get you some news, and then we're talking to my man Dan Wismar, picking up where we left off. We'll talk about not the Browns. Let's talk some football, OH style, baby, the Ohio State Buckeyes. No Braxton Miller, no matter. The season starts one way or the other. Navy on tap. We'll preview it, talk some Buckeyes and Tribe and much more with my man Dan Wismar. We're going up next after the news. Dan Wismar from the Cleveland Fan. Don't go anywhere. The Sports Fix rolls on.
Hey, 'cause I'm high, 'cause I'm high, 'cause I'm high. Are you really high though, man? He really is high, man. Shoot, shoot, shooty doo wah. Get jiggy with it. Skippity bee bop.
And now, a very special announcement from the Sports Fix.
Black bears weigh between 200 and 500 pounds. Brown bears weigh between 300 and over 1,000 pounds. Black bears run away from you. Brown bears run at you. When attacked by a bear, simply lie still on the ground and cover your face and head with your hands. When the bear is finished batting you around and mauling you, contact the U.S. Forest Service.
And that was a message from the Sports Fix.
I want to talk to you a little bit again about our good friends at Harry Buffalo North Olmsted, the UFC, the Ultimate Fighting Championships, some of the hottest fights in the world today. Each and every one of their huge events, Harry Buffalo is one of the few places in Northeast Ohio you can go there and watch each and every UFC fight at the Harry Buffalo. And let me tell you, I've been there. The people are out the door. They are to the rafters. It is one of the craziest environments for some UFC fights. Wing Mondays, they've got great deals on wings and drinks, and every day of the week there's a different special, a different deal. And don't forget the Bison Burger, the unbelievable. It is the combination of a fantastic burger and eating healthy combined into one unbelievable sandwich. You have got to get a Bison Burger while you're there. So whatever you're looking for, whatever day of the week, Monday through Friday, Saturday, Sundays, there's something for you at the Harry Buffalo North Olmsted, just outside Great Northern Mall. Check them out today. Harry Buffalo, join the herd.
Hey, this is Scott Fujita, and you're listening to the Sports Fix.
Whether it's an oil change or a new set of tires, Quick Lane at Valley Ford Truck has you covered for your automotive car care needs. They're your neighborhood quick service experts. They also offer a low price tire guarantee. Choose from 13 brands, and if you find the same tires at a lower price within 30 days, Quick Lane at Valley Ford will refund the difference. They're open late Monday through Thursday until 9 p.m. and open early Saturday so you can check it off your to-do list and get on with your day. They also have a newly remodeled service lounge and additional service bay just for Quick Lane oil changes. Quick Lane at Valley Ford Truck is located at 5715 Canal Road, right under the 480 bridge in Valley View, just down the road from Independence. 5715 Canal Road, right under the 480 bridge in Valley View, just down